The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is often lauded as the best entry in the Zelda series, with some fans even going as far as to say it is one of, if not the best video game ever made. And whether or not you agree or disagree with these claims, there's no doubt that this game served as a landmark title. As the first 3D Zelda game, it set the precedent for what future games in the franchise should be like. However, despite all this game isn't perfect, at least not on a technical level. And in this video, I'll be showing off some of these imperfections in the form of glitches. One thing to note first is that I did these on the Collector's Edition version of the game on GameCube, and while every glitch here should work on every version, if some don't, then perhaps that's why. With that out of the way, let's take a look at some glitches in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Before I show some of the more interesting stuff, I'll show off a few tricks that I'll be using throughout the video. First up, the Infinite Sword Glitch, or ISG for short. When you do a crouch stab, you can interrupt it near the end by opening up a text box or picking something up. Doing so will leave you with your sword's hitbox constantly active, hence the name Infinite Sword Glitch. You can get ISG pretty much everywhere because there are so many things to interact with, but probably the most popular methods of getting ISG are talking to NPCs and arrow signs because they can't break, or using bombs because they aren't affected by attacks and can be used just about anywhere at any time. One side effect though is that the camera will be glitched, but is still somewhat controllable with targeting. The other side effect is that you can't jump off ledges anymore. In fact, outside of side hopping and backflipping, you can't fall at all. You can take advantage of this property to get just about anywhere. As Adult Link, get ISG and then equip the hover boots. Now face away from a ledge and pull out a bomb. Wait until about the third quick flash, then shield drop it and backflip while shielding. If timed right and you're high enough above the ground, you can gain height this way. You can use Bomb True as well, but the timing is a little different. While hovering, backflip and at the peak of the jump, pull out a Bomb True and immediately shield. I mentioned that you should equip the hover boots, but this actually has nothing to do with the hovering ability of the boots at all, but rather because your backflip distance is shortened enough so that the explosion can reach you while you're still in midair. Without the hover boots, you'll backflip so far that the explosion won't reach you in time and you'll just fall. I also mentioned that you need to be high enough above the ground. This is because if you're too close to the ground, you'll snap back to the ground. The way around this when there's no ledge is to use a bomb ladder. This technique involves you putting two bombs near each other and then using the two explosions to get high enough off the ground. The usual setup is to put your back against the wall, then pull out a bomb, immediately shield drop it and side hop, and then pull out another bomb and immediately shield drop that as well. Then get between the two bombs and then backflip as the first one explodes, then backflip again as the second one explodes. Doing this should put you just high enough above the ground and then you can continue your hover. Next trick, power crouch stabbing. For some weird reason, the crouch stab attack deals the same amount of damage as the last attack performed. That means if you do a jump slash, your crouch stab will have the same strength as the jump slash. Because power crouch stabs can be done in quick succession, you can dispatch of enemies and even bosses really quickly and easily. As an additional note, if the last attack was with the Megaton Hammer, the crouch stab will have its properties like being able to destroy large boulders. Combined with ISG, you can become incredibly overpowered when dealing with enemies. This next trick is called a ground jump. Pull out a bomb and drop it. Then roll while shielding and try to pick it up mid-roll while still shielding. When Link stands up, he should be frozen like this. Now just shield the explosion, and the next time you backflip, you'll instead do a small vertical jump. This can be helpful to get to areas that were just out of reach before. Another way is to pull out a bomb and drop it, then pull out your sword and then try to pick up the bomb while shielding. You'll have the same effect doing it this way, and I think this method is a little bit easier, so I would recommend this way more. Okay, last trick before we move on, super sliding. There are a number of ways to trigger this glitch. The first setup is pretty similar to the ground jump, but this time you have to time the roll. A reliable setup is to pull out a bomb and immediately shield drop it and roll. Then backflip and wait until about the third quick flash of the bomb and then roll while mashing A to try to pick it up. If all is timed correctly, Link will start sliding backwards at incredible speed. Just remember to keep shielding during the slide, as letting go of the shield button will end the slide. The next method uses two bombs. Pull out a bomb and immediately shield drop it and side hop, and then immediately afterwards pull out another bomb and shield drop it, roll, and then backflip just like before. Right as the first bomb blows up, roll again and mash A to try to pick up the second bomb. Because the first bomb's explosion helps to time the roll a little bit easier, this method is a little bit more popular. Yet another method is to roll while shielding and try to pick up something right as an enemy hits you. This method is a lot less convenient and is overall a pain to set up, thus it's only really useful if you haven't unlocked bombs yet. And even then, there are only a few niche scenarios where you could actually set this up, much less where it would be useful. Thus, this method is rarely, if ever, used. The last method, and by far the easiest to perform, is to use Nehru's Love. If you set up for a ground jump while Nehru's Love is active, you'll perform a Superslide instead. Because I recorded most of this footage before I got the hang of the timing for the Superslide, you'll see me use this method more than the others. If you equip the hover boots in the middle of your super slide and then slide off a ledge, you'll be able to super slide while hovering for a second. This is called a hover slide, and it's useful for getting over decently sized gaps. I would recommend starting the slide with the Kokiri boots, then switching to the hover boots mid-slide, because if you start the slide with the hover boots, you'll take a much longer time to accelerate to full speed, and thus not get as much distance when you do the hover slide. Okay, now that most of those explanations are out of the way, we can begin the video in earnest. To start off, let me show you some methods of leaving Kokiri Forest early. For the first method, you'll need a sword and a shield. Next, you're going to want to stand to the right of this Kokiri that blocks your exit. Cut the sign to give yourself some room, and then line yourself up roughly like this. Next, do a crouch dab and then immediately talk to the Kokiri. You should now be sorta merged with each other. Once you're done talking, move towards the exit. You'll see that he's still blocking you despite the fact that you're now inside a circle. There are two ways to deal with this. One is to come in from the side and then roll under him as he falls into place. The other method is to slowly walk towards the side until he falls through the ground, thus eliminating him entirely. Once through, you'll get the fairy ocarina from Saria just like you normally would, and then you'll end up in Hyrule Field. Another method to escape the forest is to go to the Lost Woods and make your way to the warp that takes you to Zora's River. Wait for Navi to call you, and then jump to the ledge and climb up. Then mash the B button to do a jump slash, and then mash C up to talk to Navi. While Navi is talking, Link will fall to the bottom of the water as if it was air. This is called the Navi dive. When the game resumes again, swim to the warp and you'll end up in Zora's River. The third and last method I'll be showing uses a technique called walking while talking. For this, all you need are Deku Nuts, making this, to my knowledge, the only way to escape Kokiri Forest early without a sword or a shield. Go into the crawl space you'd go through to get the sword, and then exit it. Before the camera fixes itself, read the sign and immediately throw a Deku Nut. You should now be able to move while reading the sign. From here, find your way to the exit of the forest. Targeting with Navi can help you get your bearings a little bit. Once you get to the exit, you should be able to go right on through. The reason this works is because the game only loads objects that are in view of the camera, and since the Kokiri guard is way off camera, he doesn't get loaded in, thus letting you go through the exit unhindered. This method is definitely the least convenient of the three because of the inability to really see what you're doing, so it's only really used for swordless runs of the game. If you did the Navi dive to leave the forest early, you can get past this waterfall blocking Zora's domain by grabbing this Cucco and then taking it all the way back to the waterfall. Line yourself up roughly like this, and then with the Cucco still in hand, jump forward and you should slip right on through. Once here in Zora's domain, you can get a bottle in the silver scale pretty quickly, which, on top of skipping a cutscene and a long conversation with Kaepora Gaebora, and the lack of overall difficulty, makes Navi diving the preferred method to get out of Kokiri Forest early. Once you get the silver scale, it's possible to get the golden scale pretty much immediately afterwards. Go through the warp to get to Lake Hylia, then go to the fishing hole. You're going to want to get the heart piece from catching a 10-pound fish first, and then go for another 10-pounder. You can spawn another by leaving and coming back. Once you catch one, go to the center of the pond where this log is, and then hold Z to target and swim towards the owner. While still holding Z to target, talk to the owner and for some reason he'll give you the golden scale. Using this, you can nab yet another heart piece from the Lakeside Laboratory. You want to get the silver scale first, because if you get the silver scale after you get the gold scale, it'll overwrite the gold scale and you'll permanently lose it. For a similar reason, you want to get the heart piece from catching a 10-pound fish first, because if you don't, then it'll also be permanently inaccessible. Since I just mentioned getting a heart piece that you're supposed to get as adult Link as young Link, let me show you 2 other early heart pieces you can get. In Kakariko Village, climb this ladder all the way to the top, and once there, go to the very left corner over here. Now side hop off like this and you should land on this fence. Now you can go on the roof and talk to this guy and he'll give you a heart piece. The other heart piece is just outside of Goron City. Go onto this ledge here and then line up like this and then side hop. You should land on this ledge where the heart piece is. Alternatively, you can also just backflip over this fence to make it where you need to go, but you'll need the Goron bracelet to get rid of the bomb flower first. If you try to enter this house as young Link, you'll instead be met with a voice telling you that their son went out to play and you can't go in. However, there's a sort of way to break in if you want. If you do a jump slash at the right angle in this corner, you'll clip through the wall and be inside the house. This trick is called Jumpslash Clipping, and it can be done in a number of different areas in the game. Once inside, all you have to do is walk behind the door, and you'll end up really inside. It turns out that the inside was just the bazaar, which makes sense because that's what this house becomes in the future. This can be useful because you can access the bazaar without having to go all the way back to Castletown. This next trick isn't technically a glitch, but I thought it was helpful, so I wanted to talk about it anyway. Normally to get to this Cucco, you would need to use another Cucco to jump from here and glide to it. However, if you do a side hop followed quickly by a jump slash, you can actually make it without needing another Cucco. Since I'm already on the subject of Cuccos, here's an interesting trick that uses them to get to the bottom of the well early. Get ISG on the sign here and then grab a Cucco. Then, with your back turned against the well, shield drop it and immediately backflip into the well. Similar to the Navi dive, Link will just fall all the way to the bottom of the well as if there was no water. From here you can access the bottom of the well much earlier than intended. Alternatively, you can also use the before mentioned Navi dive, but this requires waiting for Navi to talk to you, so I prefer the Kokiri method instead. Once here in the bottom of the well, you can beat it pretty quickly by getting a small key and then going to this crawl space in the corner of the map. Crawl through it, and once on the other side, quickly open the door before the camera fixes itself. You should hear a door open, but you will still be in the same room. Doing this will load the next room's actors, but unload the current room's actors, which gives this glitch the name the Actor Glitch. Because the actors in the room you're currently in are unloaded, it's possible to fall through the water here in the beginning and crawl through the hole to fight Dead Hand and get the Lens of Truth early, thus beating the bottom of the well much faster. Here's a helpful trick for when you need to use the Lens of Truth for a long period of time. For some reason, when you play the Song of Storms, then use the Lens of Truth immediately afterwards, you won't use up any magic. This can be really helpful for certain parts of the game that require heavy use of the Lens of Truth, like in the Shadow Temple. This video is getting just a little bit longer than I originally intended it to be, so here's one more glitch to show before I end the video. First, however, take note of how many gold Skulltula tokens I have. To do this glitch, go to this tree in Hyrule Castle, play the Song of Storms to reveal a hole, and then hop in the hole. Next, blow up this wall to reveal a gold Skulltula and kill it. Now target its token and throw your boomerang at it, and then shortly afterwards, get on the platform to leave the hole. If timed correctly, you should leave as the text box for collecting the gold Skulltula token is still loading. When you check your token count, you should see that you have one more token than you had before, but when you go back in the hole, the gold Skulltula will still be there. From here, you can repeat these steps over and over to get more and more tokens. You can even do this to get over 100 tokens like I did here. Doing this method is certainly a lot easier than having to scour the entire world for more gold Skulltula tokens, So I would highly recommend this if you just want to get all the rewards for getting the gold Skulltula tokens quickly. Well, here we are at the end of the video. So like I said before, this video did get a little bit longer than I wanted it to, especially given the amount of glitches that I showed. But I still have a ton more glitches that I want to show, so be on the lookout for those if you're interested. I have so many that there might actually even be like up to 5 parts in this, who knows, we'll figure that out later. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing more glitches in Ocarina of Time, be sure to stay on the lookout for those. But until then, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.